Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the Banter Buddies podcast. I'm your host, Ninja Family Entertainment, and today I am joined by the wonderful.
Rose Posey.
Awesome. So, really quick before we dive into it, do you want to kind of give a brief summary to the audience, kind of what you do, what your content is about?
Sure. Um, do, do I say it now?
Yeah, good.
Okay. I do some gaming videos and art. The main gaming videos I do is Minecraft, Roblox, and Sims, but I will do any gaming video I can think of. That's about it, though.
Nice, nice. Okay, how has that content been going for you?
I haven't really started yet. Still trying to get through the process of getting everything up and really getting everything to do and get a proper channel up before fully starting up.
All right. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. I think you're really going to enjoy doing in the YouTube world. It's really fun.
Hmm.
Okay, so I have a list of conversation topics here for you. So I'm going to try to, as not clunkily as possible, transition us into all of these. So the first one I have here is, and this is kind of a two-parter, so I'll just start with the first part of it.
Hmm.
What are your favorite Marvel movies and why?
Well, my favorite Marvel movies would be Civil War and Winter Soldier because one of my favorite characters is Bucky. And any
Nice.
movie with
Okay.
Bucky in it is just the best.
Okay. Which do you have like a favorite of those two, or
I would say Civil War because I think that's
okay?
just a great film all around.
Okay. What did you think of? Because I know of all the people I've talked to, because I personally really like Civil War, but I know there's another person in my family who does not at all. But and the biggest point of contention I find is like Bucky's mini arc in that movie. So I'm curious to hear from you. What did you feel of that story?
I actually liked the Bucky mini arc. The story all around it really made sense. We really saw both sides of why Tony and Steve were fighting Civil War, of why one
Hmm.
was against the Accords and why one was for the Accords. Because the Accords were really who stood who. Steve stood against them because that's all he's been fighting against, of being controlled by someone controlling his heroic actions. And Tony really doesn't really care who he works for. He's just doing heroic actions to do them. And Bucky's mini arc there, I feel like many people look over it because Bucky really did have to go back and look at all the things he did as the Winter Soldier and had to really look back on those actions he never really wanted to, in a sense. And I feel like that was the most character development we really got from Bucky besides looking at Winter Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it was really interesting and kind of fleshing it out in a way of like seeing how that affects other characters. Like we see, we got a little bit of it in the Winter Soldier, but this movie really fleshed out like more of the relationship that Steve and Bucky had, and kind of why Steve would have done what he did in this situation, and it fleshed out. And in that exploration, it gave more depth to both of the characters.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really like about Civil War is that it feels like in so for example, in let's say the first Avengers, th- not every character really has like their own reason for being there. Like obviously they're all brought together to save New York, all that, but not each of them has their own like personal fight that they're having in that larger fight. And one of the things I think Civil War does really well is it gives each character a reason for being there, and like everyone's fighting their own mini battle, So like you have Black Panther there, and he's basically just there to kill Bucky. That's basically the reason he's there, and that's why he is with Tony. Not because he's on Tony's side, but because that's where Bucky's not. And you have mini arcs like that for every single character, right? Like Tony and Steve get the most fleshed out, but you can kind of chart it for everyone, I'd say. Which did you kind of get that same feeling?
I kind of did because it was for me that was like one of the fun parts of understanding that the airport battle was more of understanding why each person was on each side of you could fully understand their character arcs in later movies because you knew their reason for fighting.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things that I think gets like not overshadowed, I guess, because we all know it, but it's not really like stated a lot, I guess, is just how monumental this movie was, like going forward in the MCU. Because like this is the movie that caused the rift in the Avengers that made it so that they weren't united in Infinity War, and I feel like. Well, I was about to say I feel like if they were united, they might have been able to do something, but then I was like, no, because Doctor Strange only saw the one reality where they won, so that wouldn't have worked anyway. But you get what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think that kind of that's one of my favorite parts of this movie is that it just fleshes out everyone in a way that I don't want to say none of the other movies have been able to, because prior to that there certainly have been, and after that most certainly there have been, but
Hmm.
this was probably one of the up to that point one of the most like I don't even want to say the most character driven because all the Marvel movies are character driven, but the most like hinged on those arcs.
Yeah. Of more of exploring all the arcs at one point.
Yeah, it wasn't just focused on like in Winter Soldier, it was mostly Steve's arc with little trickles of um, character development for Natasha and for Bucky, but and those felt more like sideline stories, not like part of the main. But in this one, they all felt like they were the main focus.
Yeah.
Kind of segueing back to, because I know you said Winter Soldier is one of your favorites. Up until about 3 weeks ago, I would have said Winter Soldier was my favorite Marvel movie. There's one that overshadowed it. I don't know if you've seen it yet, so I'm not gonna delve into it. But
Okay.
what are your thoughts on Winter Soldier? Like, what do you really like about that one?
Winter Soldier, what some of my favorite parts of it were more of we got Bucky back into the MCU, and I liked how they introduced him back into the MCU with the main like fight that he gets back introduced in. And I
Hmm.
also liked when they introduced Sam. And like they kept that one line of on your left in the MCU. I just
Yes,
loved how they did that.
yes,
That will always be like
yes.
one of my
That
favorite lines.
that is one of the yeah. That's like one of Marvel does this a lot, but that's probably one of the most effective like carryover things because that if you've seen Winter Soldier and you know that connection, when you hear the radio and Sam say that to Steve right before the portal opens behind him in Endgame, it just hits so well.
Yeah.
It is just so effective. And I don't think that would have worked if we didn't have the development between those two in this movie.
Mm. And I really liked it because I loved how they just introduced Sam into it. Of like it was just Steve needed someone to run around with, and Sam was just
Yeah,
amazing with
exactly.
his abilities.
Yeah, it. This was one of the cases of what I don't know if this has a term in the scriptwriter world, so if it does, I apologize for not knowing it. But basically, where like you introduce something just like in the middle of the action. It's so you not having the introduction. It's just boom, you're here. You'll figure it out as you go. And I think that, at least from my experience of the writing that I've done, that's the easiest way to do it. Do you feel that that was the most effective way that they could have introduced him, or do you feel like you would have liked to see the like initial meeting?
I think that was a great way to introduce him. That was like one of my favorite scenes of it, so that was just a great introduction, and I don't think they would have had a more iconic one. In a sense,
Yeah,
that makes
that's
sense. I
yeah,
don't
it
know if
does.
that
Yeah,
makes sense.
no, that completely makes sense. Yeah, with a character like that, you need to have, and the thing that I think is really effective about that intro is it immediately shows the connection between two characters. Right after that scene, the scene's like not even 3 minutes, but immediately after that's done, you can know exactly what the relationship between these two characters are. I'm trying to think. I know you said that you thought the first action scene with Bucky as the Winter Soldier in it was a great introduction. We're sticking with introductions a lot in this segment. I didn't even intend that. But what let's just roll with it. What do you think made that an effective like reintroduction of him into
The blah, blah. What made that what made that such a great introduction for me was we got to see Steve fighting Bucky, not knowing it was Bucky. But then after knowing it was Bucky, he kind of freezes for that moment of this is my best friend I'm fighting. It's gonna be it's a different fight now. And we have to see
Mhm.
Natasha save Steve of oh, Steve wasn't gonna fight Bucky on his own. And I just love the hesitation of we get to see these two best friends reconnecting, but one doesn't know the other.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I've found fascinating about this is how obviously this isn't the first time we've seen him in the movie. Like we saw little glimpses of him like after he attacked Fury the second time and then when he attacked Fury the first time. And the interesting way I think that he was framed then, and like there's a difference between how the scenes with Bucky are shot and framed between before you know it's Bucky and after, because before that they're framed like very low. So he's like towering over you, or it's like depth of field behind, so it's like it's zoomed in on him like very dramatically. And with the musical score, which oh my gosh, that the main Winter Soldier theme is so good. Like, oh my gosh, I could go on just talking about that, but the way all these things get mixed together, it's almost like the same way Darth Vader has recently been used in modern media, like in Jedi Fallen Order, in that hallway scene from Rogue One, very much positioned as like this like just towering, imposing force. And I think that technique was used to perfection with the Winter Soldier in this movie, so that, like you said, when you get that hit of Steve realizing that this is Bucky, it it hits even more because we've seen what he did prior, and you've had that buildup of okay, this is a really imposing force, but then you have the almost direct contradiction of but this is Bucky, and that leads to a very interesting like internal struggle for the characters, and even upon multiple rewatches, a very interesting like I don't not divergence. I don't know how to necessarily describe it, but like yeah, divergence, I guess, for the audience too.
Yeah, kind of in that way of it is like that because it is a character that we got a little bit of in the first Captain America movie, but now we're
Hmm.
revisiting him, and now he's even further in the MCU, being more introduced as a more like popularized character, if that's the right way to phrase it. I don't
Yeah,
know. but we get to see him more
Yeah, I think
act.
that's completely accurate.
Yeah. Like with how you were saying with the framing of before when he was just the Winter Soldier, it was more of just like he's towering over you. But after we get the reveal of it's Bucky, we get more of shots of more of just like kind of face level shots of kind of
Hmm.
seeing more it is that beloved character that we are seeing again, but in a different light.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting too because kind of going off what you were just saying of how they like neutralize the camera angle in that the final fight at the beginning it's framed like face on level, right?
Mm-mm.
Then at the end it switches again with Steve is below Bucky, literally, and they shoot it like that probably just because that's where they were. But having that dynamic again, but in a different context this time, it's like Bucky is still in this moment like an imposing force over Steve, but because at this point in time, Bucky's starting to remember. He's not fully there yet, but he's starting to get there. So it changes what that means, and I think that's really an interesting kind of retrospective moment for both characters.
Mm. Especially with it framing that way, when they do have Bucky's like kind of realization moment of I'm not gonna fully injure Steve, but it's more of when he just lets him fall. We get that towering shot, but it kind of
Yeah,
seems different this time.
yeah. That is such an interesting. I hadn't even really thought of that until you brought it up, but that's such an interesting like way of doing this. I guess kind of showing those dynamics. It's
Mm.
really cool.
That's why I love that movie.
So
That
kind
movie
of
just
going
is
to
all
these
around.
the second. It is. It. Oh, Winter Soldier is so good. It is so good. Just it's so good. I always love the superhero movies that showcase like the effect that the hero's actions have on the surrounding world, and I think this one really does that really well, and it kind of gets carried over into Civil War as well, but kind of showing the like the political side of what all this means, like how do you manage how does shield operate in like with legislations and things like that. I think that is I've always found that really fascinating, so I love when movies can take the time to flesh that out in a interesting way.
Mm. And kind of still make it important of it's kind of just a big plot point that the whole movie's based around. Because if Shield wasn't infiltrated by Hydra in Winter Soldier, we wouldn't have fully had the all around Fury getting killed off. I say that in I say that in like quotes because we know Fury's still alive.
Yeah. Yeah, it they do it in a way that it's very necessary to the plot and doesn't just feel like a oh hey here's this little side stuff and then back to the main action. It's they're directly intertwined with each other in a really clever way. So the second part to this question basically is kind of tying directly. I would have put Star Wars in here too, but I know you said you haven't seen any Star Wars movies, which blasphemous. You need to see some at some point. You need to see some at some point. But roll into the second of the Disney properties. What's your favorite Disney movie?
um, Favorite Disney movie would be Tangled.
Okay, that's a good choice. Okay,
Cause
and
Tangled, yeah. Yeah.
good.
Tangled, I kind of idolized Rapunzel as a little girl because Rapunzel was my main inspiration for most of the things in my life. Of I got into art because I always loved watching her paint on her walls. Of one day I wanted to paint my walls. I actually almost tried to when I was a kid, but
Oh no.
Yeah. My parents were too happy about
I
that,
can, yeah, I can see how that would not go over well.
but and I always loved that she kind of found an escape from her castle. Of it, I don't think it was fully Eugene slash Flynn Rider bringing her out of her tower, but kind of it was her choice to fully go out and see the
Mhm.
world because she had inspiration to want to go out before. She was just scared.
Yeah,
She just needed
like,
the little push.
yeah, exactly. I think it was just she was looking for an excuse to go, and when he came in, that was her excuse to get out. That was her route. So what she didn't go because he came. She went and kind of used him as the device for like to reach that final step, if that makes sense. I haven't watched that movie in so long, but I remember the thing I remember the most is the music is fantastic.
Oh, the songs in that movie is amazing.
Right? They're so good. I think it has my favorite Disney movie, which I don't even remember the title of, but it's the one when they're both on the boat with all the lanterns.
And now I see the lights.
Yes, thank you, thank you. That's the title of it. There we go. I probably should have known that, but it's that one. It's just so good, and it's weaved into the narrative of the story so well. It's just it's so good. It is so good.
One of my favorite song in the movie is when she's singing in the morning. When will my life begin?
Oh yeah.
That song, it just kind of shows her time in the tower of a quick like little montage of everything she normally does, and that she kind of still
Mhm.
keeps herself occupied. Well, just kind of trapped.
Yeah. I Ironically, that's that's very similar to what we've had to do the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I never even thought of that, but hearing you say it, I'm like, "Hey, wait a minute, that sounds familiar." I remember when I was littler, like, when this came out, I don't even remember what year it came out. I wanna say, like,
I think it was 2019. Wait,
2019?
29
Wait,
2009. 20
wait, hold on, I'm gonna Google that right now, hold on. I was gonna say 2019, what?
I meant 2009.
It's like 2019, what do you mean? 2010.
Okay, I was close. The second time around.
You're not only 9 years off.
Well, I meant 2009, not 2019.
Okay, then yeah, you were then you weren't that off.
2019.
20, wow. But I remember when I first saw that movie, I remember just the way, and once again, I haven't seen this in a long time, so I don't even remember if this is her name, but Mother Gothel, was that her name?
Yes, it is Mother
I
Gothel.
remember the way she was framed and the way the lighting was and the music that they used in her scenes. She was terrifying when I was younger. I remember that was like I was legitimately scared.
Oh, I get the feeling of that one.
Yeah, it was like, and that's so impressive that they're able to bring that out. That's so impressive.
I actually think in the beginning of the movie, they kind of frame her as like she has that bit of sass to her, but she doesn't feel fully evil yet. Besides the
Hmm.
scenes where you do see her kidnapping Rapunzel and trying to like summon the flowers' powers, but you kind of don't see her evil side till more on of seeing her try and get Rapunzel back in the castle or
Hmm.
tower. But it kind of I was never fully afraid of Mother Gothel. I actually really loved Mother Gothel as a kid. She just always seemed like that cool villain that I always thought wasn't fully like a villain. I kind of understood her of like she was just trying to be young.
Yeah.
Why you gotta hate on her? Yeah, she's still a
Yeah.
kid. She's still a kid, right? Little me didn't think stealing a child from a castle was that bad. I was always
That's
like,
concerning.
yeah. Now looking back at it, that is a little concerning for little me going, oh, she's just still a kid to be young, you know.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I never fully
Disney's
told
really good
her.
at that, making like the
Eh,
yeah. Disney's really good at making the like really fun, sassy villains like Scar or Mother Gothel's a really good one, or now I can't think of any more. I can't think of any more villains now.
Uh,
Jafar,
kind of
um,
Maleficent.
Maleficent, yeah. Gaston, I guess you could camp in there.
Uh, he was kind of
Sort
an off
of.
villain. He
Yeah.
wasn't
There
fully the villain.
yeah, that was more of like just side antagonist, I guess. In that
Yeah.
movie, there wasn't really a villain in that movie. Now that I like think about it, it was more
Well,
just like obstacle characters, I guess.
Disney's purpose was the Beast was supposed to be a villain. He was supposed to be a self villain because he's the reason the curse got cast, and he was also the one kind of pushing Belle away when he needed her to fix his curse. Of it took him a little bit to fully get over those hurdles. So technically, Beast was supposed to be the villain of the story.
See, I never really got that impression. I always just kind of like, just to me, it felt like it was either like the town, not necessarily the town as a whole, but what the town like represented to Belle, I guess, or it's just there's not really a villain. It's just obstacle characters. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. What did you think of the live action adaptation? I'm curious to
Oh,
hear your thoughts on this.
I loved the live action. That actually was the first movie I got to see in 3D because my family saw it in 3D the first time around because my mom absolutely loved the cartoon Beauty and the Beast. So we saw it in
Hmm.
3D and I loved it. It was just a different experience. And even going back and
Hmm.
rewatching it not in 3D, I loved how they kind of just brought the cartoon into live action because I don't feel like they
Hmm.
changed too many things.
Yeah,
Of like Maleficent, they made her the hero. I haven't fully saw Cruella de Vil yet. I want to,
I
but I
haven't seen
haven't
that one
fully seen
either.
that one yet. I want to see how they did that one, but I haven't seen that one yet. But using Maleficent, they kind of changed a major aspect of it.
Hmm.
But with Beauty and the Beast, it kind of still felt like it still had the cartoon reminiscence to it. It was
Yeah.
kind of I kind of feel bad that they kind of did it that way because I was expecting them to change up a little bit of having a different perspective on it a little bit better.
Hmm.
But nothing really too bad about it. I still love it. I feel like the songs didn't hit as good as the cartoon though.
Yeah, I can see that.
Of like they just didn't have that same energy coming back.
Yeah,
Mm.
it wasn't as vibrant. The entire movie was kind of not undersaturated, but it wasn't as colorful as you would think it would have been. I think the only time they really had like the pops was the ballroom dance scene, and that's like required. You can't not do that scene and have you can't do that scene and not have vibrancy.
Mm.
That's just like you just can't.
But I even feel like that scene didn't fully meet up to the vibrancy of the cartoon. Because the cartoon,
Yeah.
that ballroom scene, oh jeez, it looks amazing.
It
And I
does. It really
I
does.
it does though. And I feel like the live action tried doing that, but it didn't fully reach its potential.
Mhm.
Which how can you meet greatness but, you know.
Yeah, yeah, the original was so good, I feel like it was almost impossible to, like, do it better or do it on the same level, but have you
They
seen any of the other, sorry, go ahead.
huh? What are you gonna say?
Um, have you seen any of the other live action adaptations of any of the movies?
I've seen Lion King. That's about it though.
Okay. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that one. I've sort of seen it, but I've seen it in the aspect of I watched it with no audio in a dentist chair. So I've seen it, but I haven't seen it. So you're kind of going to be carrying this part of the conversation.
That was a casual one to say. You just watched the movie in a dense stuff. It's all right.
It
um,
was. It literally was. I was just chilling out.
um, with Lion King, it's much like the Beauty and the Beast version of they kind of just tried. They didn't try changing too many aspects of it. It
Hmm.
gives you the vibe of the cartoon, but it also they kind of just like they did with Beauty and the Beast. They kind of desaturated it a little bit, made it to where they look like realistic. Because how
Hmm.
could I going into it? I was like, why are you making a live action lion movie? Like the cartoon ain't enough for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like,
I'm
do
like,
you have to?
it didn't need to be made. We have the original. Why do we need a live action one? Just so you can give us like perfectly rendered fur on Simba? Like, granted, yeah, that's really, really impressive. But do we need it? No, it didn't. And like, I would have been okay with it if it like brought a interesting new adaptation. Like if they changed the story up a little bit. But it was literally like shot for shot the same movie, just in a different visual style.
Just CGI.
Yeah, exactly. It was just that version of CGI and not the animated. So I'm like, why did it need to be made? Oh, I know. Have you seen Christopher Robin?
No.
Oh, now that is a Disney live action that surprised me in all the right ways because Winnie the Pooh has a very, very special place in my heart. And when I heard they were making a live action, at first I was really, really concerned because on one hand, I'm gonna see it, like regardless of how it is, I'm gonna watch this. But on the other hand, I'm like, I don't feel like they'd be able to capture the magic that Winnie the Pooh had for me when I was younger. But the story that they told in that movie was just it was beautiful. It was so well done. And I just still remember the first time I saw the trailer. It was we were in the theater watching something. I don't even remember what we were going to see, but and we didn't even know the trailer had dropped. And we just saw the first trailer and the first time I heard Pooh's voice in like 4 years, it just I'm getting chills just thinking about it now, but it was like, oh, that's the only time I've like cried at a trailer. Like, oh, that just hit in all the right ways, and the movie is depressing, but it's good. It like that's one of those movies, and like I use this whenever I talk to someone about like Avengers Endgame as well, and I always say like it was really good, and I never want to see it again. And by that I mean like it was great. It was so emotional and it hit me in all the right emotional beats. But I never want to go through the emotional pain again. But in this situation, that's a good thing.
Hmm.
Like, oh gosh, it was just. If you ever do decide to watch it, I'm pretty sure it's on Disney Plus. If you do decide to watch it, you're gonna need like 50 boxes of tissues. I'm just warning you right now.
Aw.
So, it, I'm not kidding. You're gonna need. I mean, me and my family when we went to go see it, we this is the only time we've ever like brought tissues into the theater. We've always just like used our shirts or something, but with this one, we knew. So like each of us had like 2 or 3 different of those tiny like tissue containers just stuffed in our pockets. So we went through all of it. At least I know I went through all my packets. So yeah, you're
Jeez.
gonna need it. You're gonna need it for this one.
Jeez.
Yeah, you're. It's so good. It is so good. Kind of segueing from that and like what I was talking about with Winnie the Pooh and what you just talked about with Beauty and the Beast. What movie has the most sentimentality for you? And this can be any movie. It doesn't have to be like Marvel or Disney. It can be literally anything. You can even throw a TV show in here if you want, and you can choose more than one. I probably should have specified that in the question, but
Sediment? Hmm. I have to say Beauty and the Beast a little bit because that movie has always been I another Disney princess I idolized because I idolized a lot of Disney princesses when I was a kid because most of them were the reason I tried different things or were okay with my personality of they kind of showed me it's okay to be well, Belle especially showed me it's okay to be different. Even when people are making fun of you that you are different, it's okay to be that different. And I always really liked that she kind of showed Beast it's okay to let people in and love people for who they are and they'll love you back even if you aren't looking yourself. You aren't yourself right then. And yeah, Beauty and the Beast has always been a sentimental because I've watched that so many times as a kid. Because my mom
mm,
absolutely loved that movie. And that was one of the Disney movies my dad would even watch with us. Because my dad hated musicals, especially Disney musicals.
what? How?
My dad doesn't like high pitched singing or high
Oh,
pitched voices, so he never liked
okay,
Disney movies.
okay. That actually makes sense. That makes sense.
And but I always remember that that one movie was like one of the ones my dad could never say no to because my mom'd be like, "Nope, you're watching it." Damn right, you have no excuse not to watch it.
No way. There's no way you can say no to that movie. It's beautiful. It's so good.
And that movie's always been just like a childhood memory of mine. That one that's just my childhood right there. That
Yeah,
movie. I think that one's main one that's been just always with me. No matter how long ago I've watched it, it'll be just there.
yeah. I have basically the same thing with another Disney movie, and that is Cars. When I when I was younger, that movie was like just. I swear, I don't even know if this is true because I was like too young to even like form memories. But my parents say that like I would watch that movie like multiple times every day for like a month for like months at a time, and I just just oh I could go on for a long time on why that movie is so good. I recently rewatched it because I was like, I'm curious what I think about it now. Like, is it still gonna have that same magic for me? And honestly, it had even more rewatching it and like being able to fully understand like all the nuances in the story. It's just so good, and the thing that I found really funny was how many sly little, like, adult jokes they slid in there, because, like, ca all the Disney movies have them, but Cars, oh my gosh, there are so many. My gosh, there are so many.
That was my reaction, but in Beauty and the Beast, you know how Lumiere and like the feather duster had that little relationship? I never caught that as a kid.
Uh-huh.
But rewatching it when I was
You
younger,
never
I was
caught
like, "Wait a minute."
You never caught that?
No. It was always in the
How?
background. I never caught that. As a kid, I never caught that one. Cuz I would always focus like one of my favorite like inanimate objects in that movie was Chip. I just loved
Oh,
every scene
yes.
with Chip in it.
Uh-huh.
So I
Yeah.
never really paid attention to Lumiere. So I was like, "Wait a minute." And that wasn't really a dirty joke, but I since you brought up the rewatching and noticing things, I was just like, "Wait a minute, I remember noticing that one."
the, the biggest question that popped up to me when I watched Cars again, and like especially one scene, was like, wait a minute. So there's like a class divide between the different brands of cars. So like Toyotas are treated differently than like Subarus, and like, wait, what? Because like it was one scene that just kind of clicked in my head, and I was like, wait a minute. Car brands in this universe are like races, sort of.
Yeah.
And like Ferraris are treated differently than like Toyotas because they're like the race cars and they're sleek and all that. So what does that mean for this universe? Like what? Wow. Like, and then here's another thing. Okay, have you seen Cars 2?
Yes.
Okay. You know the plane? Like they drive into the plane like that?
Yeah.
The plane is sentient, just like the cars. So what's going on there? Like, and then the boats too. It's like the same thing. They're sentient, but they're still carrying the other cars, which are also sentient. It's like, what on earth is
Manual
going
labor.
on?
Manual labor.
It, yeah, exactly. It's like they're born into this world of servitude just because they're a boat. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's like the more you stop and think about that universe, the more it's like this is a fever dream. Like there's one clip especially like from the behind the scenes of the making of the first Cars. It was like I don't remember his name, but one of the artists got asked what would happen if you opened their doors. And the artist said, "Well, you couldn't do that because that's where all their like that's where their brain is. That's where all their internal organs are." And I'm like, "Wait a minute. So you're telling me the cars are like they're not cars? Then why do they still need fuel? What?" I have so many questions.
Yeah, Cars is confusing.
Yeah, it's also when you really stop and think about it that way, it's also slightly disturbing. But I don't try. I try not to think about that side of it too much. Have you heard the Pixar theory?
Yes, I've watched so many videos on the Pixar theory of trying to make my own connections when a new Pixar movie comes out.
I was just gonna ask, do you believe it? Because there are certain parts of it that I believe, but there's one bit that is too far of a stretch to me that it just kind of throws everything else off. But what's your take on it?
I actually really like the theory. Like I've said, I've done research on it, tried connecting it in my own way of trying to figure it
Mhm.
out. But I really love it. I love that they can kind of just connect the universe as one. But like
Mhm.
you said, there's some parts that kind of people stretch on of like that could be possible, but really would it be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest stretch for me is that Boo from Monsters Inc. is somehow the witch from Brave. And like
Yeah.
even hearing the explanation, it doesn't make any sense to me. And all that just because, oh, the witch has a carving of Sully in the movie. I'm like, guys, that's an Easter egg. It doesn't mean anything. But the rest of it actually makes a lot of sense
Mm.
when you really look at it.
Yeah, looking at it full screen. That one, I agree with you on the Boo not being the witch, because that one I've watched so many people try to explain that, and I'm just like, but you make the connection so widely that people can disprove you at any point in your theory.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
disprove it.
There are so many holes. There's like there's so many holes in the theory that it's like it kind of falls apart. But I like the idea of it, if nothing else. I like the idea of the theory. Okay, we'll skip this next question because we kind of already delved into it. So I know you are a big book reader, and I'm slowly stepping into this. I when I was younger, I don't know why my younger self was like so like pushback on reading, but like now I'm like, what were you doing, younger me? Because I'm like delving full force into it now. I'm like, younger me was an idiot for many reasons, but that's one of the reasons. But what what are some of the best or your favorite books that you've read?
Um, oh God, I've read too many books. um, that's like one of my first thoughts. Damn, all right. Um, I mainly read series, so most of
Okay.
the books are in like series. But one of my favorites were the Percy Jackson series. That one was
Okay.
always just amazing. And then there's also another series that I read was The Hero's Guide to, which was a whole 3 books of just it was a cool like the first book was Hero's Guide to Saving Your Kingdom. And it's just an amazing book series and I love how they well rounded it. I'm trying to remember what one book series is called. There I read it when I was a kid, but I don't fully remember the name of it. Oh, Magic Treehouse. There it
Oh yes. Oh, Magic Tree House was so good.
is.
Oh.
I mainly say that book series because that was just an amazing book series, and I read that in school. I read that with my dad actually, and then I read it on my own. So I got to read that series like 3 times, and every single time it was just a masterpiece.
There are so many books though. There are like 75.
Yeah, I've almost read all of them.
How? I think I've only read like maybe 10. Like, how did you get through all of them?
Um, so I've read them multiple times. I've read at least the first 5 3 different times, like rereading them 3
Mm.
different times. And then every summer I used to go to the library and they would have this summer reading challenge. So every
Uh-huh.
time I would try and get like all of the prizes for it cuz
Mhm.
your girl could do that with her reading abilities. And every time the library had like this big stack of like all the Magic Treehouse books. So every single summer I would try and read the Magic Treehouse books to get through the summer reading log. Because I knew there was enough books to do it.
Yeah. I remember the summer reading logs. I remember those. And like I remember there was one summer that's like the only summer that I really like actively tried for it. And I thought I was doing so well. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing really well at this. And I looked at how many pages I've read compared to how many you need. I was like Not even a quarter of the way there. It's like, oh gosh. I think I was
Uh,
like 8, maybe.
I've done the summer reading logs almost every summer, especially when my sister got in high school, because my sister did her community service hours at Buena Park Library,
Oh,
and she
nice.
did it
Okay.
there. And I would always be there when she was doing her community service hours. So I'd just be sitting there reading and filling out my log. And going up to the table and getting the prize as soon as I was done.
Wow.
They knew me by name every single summer. They would just be like, "You're back." I was like, "Yeah."
did did they like that or?
They always knew I would be back every single week after finishing it. After finishing my log, and I'd have like 2 weeks worth of the log done in 1 week. They're like,
Jeez.
"We're gonna have to restock on our prizes if you keep doing this." Me, no.
They just wow. They just make a separate category just for you.
But yeah, it was always fun because my dad would always joke with me whenever I'd like come up to him with a finish log. He'd be like, "Well, how'd you finish it so quickly?" Me, I don't know. I was just sitting there and it was done apparently.
Wow. Yeah. My mom is the same way with books. She can like motor through them. She'll like get a new book and it's like really long. I'm like, I wonder how long this is gonna take her. Like 2 days later, she's done. I'm like, how? How is that possible? I don't understand. But
It's fun to sit down with a book and just motor through it. Then you get the whole plot in your head.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think I've ever finished a book in one day though. It's it takes me a bit to fully understand a book.
yeah. What's your record? Do you think? What's the shortest amount of time it's
Um,
taken you to read one?
hmm, about 2 to 3 days.
Jeez. Okay. What do you remember? What the book was?
It was what was it? I think it was the Hero's Guide books because I read those
Okay.
ones. There's 3 books in the series, and I was trying to read those ones in like a week. And I think I read
hmm
the first book in like 2 days.
Jeez.
And it's like a 300 pages, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah.
Jeez. That's a bit insane. One of my favorite ones that I read actually very recently was one of the Star Wars Legends books, and I've been looking for this book for so long, and I couldn't find it. But I went to the Barnes and Noble that's really close to where we live, and they had it. And, and so finally, I was able to grab it. It was the Star Lord. I almost said Star Lord. No, Star Wars. The Star Wars Legends Revan book, and oh, it was so good. Revan's always been one of my favorite Star Wars characters, and he's not even canon, but he's just always been so intriguing to me, and I've always wanted to read that book, but I could never find it. But uh, I found it this one day, and I read through. I finished it in like here I was thinking like, yeah, I was able to do this. This is like a big achievement that I'm hearing you like, yeah, I finished the book in 3 days. I'm like, oh, maybe not. But I think I finished it in like 2 weeks, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, something like 2 weeks. And it was so good. This is the first book that I actually cried at the ending.
Oh.
The ending's just so beautiful. It's like it wraps it up so nicely. It sets up for the future. It's just so good. Just so good. Yeah, I've been diving into the Star Wars Legends books recently. I read through the what's it called? Um, it's the Darth Malik? Yeah, the Darth Malik book. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's Deceived, I think. I don't remember what it's called. Hopefully anyone in the audience that knows the series, you'll know what I mean. And then I read through the Darth Bane book, which I don't remember what that one's called either. It might have just been called Darth Bane. I don't know. I don't remember. But
Mm.
yeah, those three books were really good. And recently I got the Star Wars Republic Commando books. So soon, once I finish the book I'm currently on, I'm gonna delve into those. I'm really excited for that.
Oh.
So yeah, that's my reading world.
Well, my reading world, I finished books so quickly because I've been reading since the age of 5, I believe. I think that's when my reading
Okay.
started. Because I used to read all the time with my parents. Because my mom was a big reader,
Mm.
and my dad really hated reading, but would still make fun of books by reading them. Trust me, I had this one book that was a Little Mermaid book. That was like a really
Uh-huh.
good like picture book. My dad made his own story with that book.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
It was the weirdest version of Little Mermaid ever. But he
I
just
would
had me
love to hear
sitting on
that.
his lap. Little 5-year-old me was just sitting on his lap listening to this version of Little Mermaid.
What? Uh, you're gonna have to remember what that version is, 'cause I want to hear what that is. That.
Oh, I don't fully remember it because that was like 10 years ago. Oh god. Um, mm. It was something. Oh, I remember Ursula Page. He came up with the weirdest description of what Ursula was saying. It was so weird. My mom just sat there like, "This is the way this is going," because she was gonna read the book to me, but she had to go study for something, I believe, or had to
Uh-huh.
go help my sister or something. So my dad offered to read it. She
Mhm.
was so shocked when she came back in the living room. My dad was reading the weirdest version.
At least that made it memorable.
My mom was just like, "No, don't read that way to our child, please." Because he was making some adult jokes with it too, I'm pretty sure, and I didn't understand any of it at that time. I was just sitting there like, "All right."
Oh gosh.
It was just the most fun. Uh, After that, I don't think he read too many books to me because my mom was like, "Let's take a break from your father reading, please." And she read most books with me. I remember reading the first Narnia book with her, The Magician's Nephew. We
Oh,
read that
nice.
one for
Okay.
a bit with each other. Of like she read that out loud to me. And that book started me on my journey of wanting to find books like that to read and also
Yeah.
find the Narnia movies. I went on a whole fan page of that one. Fandom of that one. But yeah, yeah, my love of reading has just been a big thing, so it's kind of easy for me to read because I've been reading for so long. But yeah.
Yeah. Our final three after this next one, the final three kind of tie into each other because they're all kind of very similar. So this is like the last unique topic. What's your favorite music genre and why is that your favorite? I think because I know you, I think I already know the answer to this, but it will be a fun conversation. So,
Country.
yes, yes, yes. I know you.
I,
You're
I
the
was
first person who shares that. Go ahead.
I was raised on country, so I can't say any other genres very well. I don't know any other genres very well.
Yeah, my parents, for the longest time, I didn't have my own, like, music playlist, I guess, that I listened to. So, like, I would always just listen to the ones that my parents have, and really early in their relationship, they went on a really big like country kick for whatever reason. So I would always listen to those, and that just like I think this is what I say. I don't know if this is true or not, but this is the narrative I tell everyone. It's like I think the mixture of constantly listening to country music and always going down to Joshua Tree National Park, which is very country because it's like I don't know if you've ever been there, but like Yucca Valley especially is like my goodness. Like all the buildings there are so western. It's like so I think a healthy combination of those two things kind of like paved my road for I guess I'm a cowboy now. But yeah, country is just so good. What do you like about it?
Well, I was mainly, like I said, raised on it. I just, for some reason, country music just hits different. Of like, oh, I know that country song because most country songs are similar. To be
Mm,
honest, most
yeah,
country songs you can just they're similar. Once the words start, you can immediately know which one's which.
yeah.
Not feeling difference. But I usually like it because not my whole family, but my mom's dad would always listen to it because he was actually a very big cowboy. He actually starred in his own like cowboy movies too. Of he did some movies of cowboys. Um, but he was very big on it. I remember always going to his house and he always had the best country music playing. And my dad is also a big country music fan. So just those two being like a major I always looked up to them two as like a major people in my life. So country music was always
Mm,
around.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably very similar for me, but like mostly just my parents because they were. I don't even know if they really are now, but I like delved full force into it. Like there are so many good ones, and I think it's it's weird because the two, in my opinion at least, and you can tell me if you have a different opinion in this respect, but the two best ways of a country song to be executed for me is either sad or a romance song. Those two are like the best types of country songs for me. What do you think?
Uh, have to disagree a little bit. Romance
Okay.
songs a little bit, but I romance songs are not like very much my niche. It's more of breakup songs. For some reason, never went
Okay.
through a breakup, but most breakup songs really hit different for some reason. I don't know
Yeah.
why. But yeah, those are more of that one instead of the romantics one. Because romantic
Mm.
country songs, I don't know, they're just a bit strange to me.
To me, it's like it's very specific because some country artists go way off the deep end with it, and it's like, okay, just stop right there. Just no. But it's a very select few of them are just like, and I think the reason I like them so much is they're just so honest. I guess it's like, and they're really like, tender is not really the right word, but like, just they're really sweet. I guess so. It's like that nice mixture, and then yeah, that just I don't know why that just really works for me. And then sad songs, just because country's really good at making you sad. I don't know why.
I gotta
I don't
agree
even
with
know
the
what it
sad
is.
songs.
Is it like yeah, like I don't even know what it is. Is it their voice? Is it like the beat? What is it? I don't even know.
Country just equals sad.
I guess. I guess. There's something about tumbleweeds that makes me reflect on life.
Country breakup songs for some reason just are just like my favorite thing. I don't know why. Even if it's not a country breakup song, it just hits different to me. I don't know. Never been in a relationship or broken up with someone. It's just strange. Even kid me can agree. She just loved breakup songs.
I I don't know what that says about you.
I have no clue. Cause like when I was like when we were having that conversation about Hamilton music earlier in
Mhm.
text, if I said burn, I don't know why it's the breakup song energy.
Yeah.
I have no clue what this says about my personality, but
Uh,
says something.
I'm sure there's something you could read into that. I won't. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure there's something there. Oh gosh. I'm trying to think, like, 'cause I remember, there's just something about, like, especially, have you ever been, I'm sure you have, but have you ever been, like, in a car driving where, like, really late at night, where you just have, like, street lights and things like that? Like, because for me, there's this memory I have, and I kind of, in my own head canon, I always like credit this as like the moment I fell in love with country because I remember going back to Joshua National Park again. I remember us driving back from staying there for I think it was a 2-day visit. I was really young, so I might be getting this wrong, but I just remember driving back and like me already being really tired, but just something about the combination of me naturally being tired already, the bright neon lights. I don't know why. Neon has always made me tired. Whenever I look at like neon lights, I always just get sleepy. I don't know why. It's just like you would think would be the exact opposite because like it's really bright. Like you'd think that would wake you up, right? Nope.
Yeah.
For me, it makes me tired. I, it might just be because like every time neon's on, it's nighttime, and I'm tired already, and so I might just be connecting the two. But I don't know. But yeah, I remember driving back and us listening to like country music, and I can I can hear the song in my head. I'll probably look it up later and send it to you, and like I'll for the video in this dear audience, I will plug it right here. So the title will be right there if I remember it. Um, it just as I was just dozing off, looking up at the sky, just just in that moment, it just clicked for me, and I've never gotten that like passion for what country is and what it like signifies for me. Like I won't go any more into it because then it will get like really like not sappy, but you know what I mean. So I won't
Yeah.
delve too much into it, but yeah.
I actually have a similar story. Well, not fully similar, but my love of country came from one time I was sitting in the garage with my dad because he was fixing up the car or something, I believe. And he had his radio blaring country music because my dad can't do anything without blaring it. I swear, watching TV, doing anything, he's blaring it. So the neighbors were even hearing country music.
I hope
But
they like it.
they probably didn't, but But I remember that day we were just messing around with it because I used to like fixing things with my dad. I don't do it very much anymore because he normally tries to do it alone because
Mhm.
Stubborn. He's stubborn. But we were fixing it up and one song came up, which was 5150. I don't know if you know that country song, but it was
It
that
doesn't.
one.
Okay, it doesn't sound familiar. I will
Yeah.
look it up after this is done, though.
And we were listening to that one, and my me and my dad just started like dancing to it. We were just having the best of time with it, and that was just like my favorite thing of like favorite memory of country music, and my love of country music has just come from that moment of having that with my dad. If that was something to me.
Yeah. It's it's really interesting how just like even the smallest of moments can just like shape what we do and how we feel about certain things going forward. It's crazy. Even just like the smallest of things can have such a profound impact. It's crazy. Okay, so these final three questions are very similar to each other. So I know, to any of the audience who doesn't know, um, me and my guest here, we are both in something called the Creator Academy, and it's very, it's all media driven. So we deal a lot with like making mini movies and photography and different things like that. So I want to know what for you, and I'll answer these too, like I have with all of them. What got you interested in media?
Um, I got interested in media as a kid because growing up, I wasn't very much introduced to media very well. Of media was kind of kept separately from me as a kid. But when I
Mm,
found out about what it was, uh, I kind of wanted to do media to do it. Of I wanted to make people happy because I know when I watched YouTube videos and stuff like that, I always felt this sort of happiness towards the person that was making it. Of like, this person's making me smile. It's an amazing feeling.
hmm.
So getting introduced to it that way, I just really loved media.
Yeah, I'm listening to you say that. I'm like continuing with the inside joke that you and me have of you're just an alternate reality version of me. Because that's like exactly the same thing for me. Because it's like there are three stories that kind of mix in, but the main thing that like made me want to pursue it as a career was like I always credit the first Avengers movie as like setting that spark off in my heart because I remember how big of an event that was when that movie came out. That was like everything the world could talk about for like a year. And just, I remember thinking, like, movies just bring everyone together in a way that is just so profound to me. And I want to be a part of that, a part of like shaping this and bringing people together for just the enjoyment of something. I want to be, even in a small way, a part of making that happen.
Mhm.
So that's what kind of set me down the train of this is what I want to pursue for my career and what I want to do for the rest of my life. But I remember specifically, and like I'm still wrestling in my head on what branch specifically I want to do. I keep going back and forth between do I want to be an actor or do I want to like do radio hosting? So like if you ever listen to do you listen to iHeartRadio?
Yes.
Okay. Like so something similar to that, like being a radio host like that. I keep going back and forth between either of those two,
Mhm.
but it's gonna be one of those two. But I remember my older cousin when I was like I think 4 at this point, but he was making a mini movie for school, I think. I don't even remember now. But he asked me if I wanted to be in it. And I was like, yeah, awesome. What goes into that? So I got like a crash course on all of it. So like for months I delved so hard into that world, and we have a physical copy of it somewhere, but there's just little me just like being an actor, like just running across the street outside our then house and then running inside and just like I don't even know how he did it, but like this CGI dinosaur running after me and like we have that physically somewhere, but I don't know where it is, but we have it somewhere. And I just remember having so much fun with that. And then later in elementary school, me and one of my friends would always play, like kids always play, and we do game stuff like that. And we like in our heads we framed it as this is a TV series. So like we would always be like, okay, this what we're doing today is like each day was a different episode. Each week was a season. So we like played it off that way in our heads, and I just remember at the time I didn't even think of it, but looking back on it now, having a little more not professional experience with it, but I've acted in different things now. Like that was acting. Like it wasn't like on screen or anything like that, but we were personifying characters. That's acting. So just yeah, and then like being constant because my dad works at Universal Studios, and I remember just I we go a lot,
Mm.
and when I was younger, being like just being surrounded by that like atmosphere so much, just I don't know, it just ignited that passion even more for me, and like the Creative Academy now just furthers it. Then following on from that kind of, what is your favorite part on working in the media field?
Hmm. Well, besides the Creator Academy, as you know, I haven't really dabbled very much in too far of the media field, besides more of just doing YouTube, because that's the main thing I focus on when doing media is the YouTube aspect, because I've always wanted to just go into doing that when I was older.
Hmm.
And I remember it was always fun. I always loved trying to record different things. So like recording, editing were like always just my favorite things to do with it. And I've never really gotten in any other like fully fields in the media field. So I don't really know if I like them, but I do want to try them out in the future.
Okay. The the favorite part of it for me has always been the human connection aspect of it. So like what I mentioned with my mini story on the Avengers movie and how that kind of set me down the path, but like the Creative Academy being very social with other people and getting to talk to them and hear different opinions on things and just building those genuine connections. I just love it so much. And with the photography that I do and like doing my work on Instagram, I've gotten to have so many good real conversations with people, and I've made so many people or I've made so many people. No, I've met so many people that just yeah, I've made so many people. No, no, I've met so many people that just share that passion and are just genuinely fantastic people. And like meeting you through the Creative Academy, exactly the same thing. Just being able to be that social with it and meeting different people, having these genuine interactions is always just so special to me. That's why that's why I wanted to do this podcast and like going into potentially radio hosting if I don't do acting,
Mm.
just talking with people and making those connections and hearing different opinions. Like that's one of my favorite things when I'm talking to someone and they have a different opinion than I do. I love that because then I can see something from a different perspective that I wouldn't have thought of before, and that's just so cool to me. And lastly, we have what advice would you give those wanting to go into the media field?
Oh, um, going into the media field, you gotta know kind of if you really want to do it, if you are going to commit to it and kind of understand. You don't have to fully commit in the beginning of doing it. You kind of just have to grow with, is this a commitment you want to do in the future? Of knowing that it is a commitment to kind of grow in it. Kind of, sort of, if that makes sense.
I think that's great, yeah, because you are going to change so much as your journey in this world progresses. You're going to discover so many different things. Like, if you go into this expecting, like, I'm going to do this specific thing and only focus on that, like, I think my main piece of advice would be leave your mind open. Don't stick just to, like, I'm going to be this branch and this one only. Like, leave it open because you never know. You might discover that you love camera operations, or you love voiceover work, or you love script writing or editing. Just dabble in as much as you can now, like when you're younger and it's not like your profession. So you can like get a taster for everything, and like from that you can kind of feel out which one you like doing most, and then you can focus, focus headlong on that one thing. But I'd also say have a backup option, because that's another thing with the media field too. Like, it's really fun, but it's really competitive. It can get really really competitive. So always have a backup as well.
Mm,
That's probably what I would say, and just have fun with it, because this, as much as I say, like, yeah, it's competitive and all those different things, it's really fun and it's really
mm,
social and all of those things. So that's what I'd say. Okay, was there anything else you wanted to add on? Any other topics you want to discuss? Because that's all I have on the list, but I'm up for whatever.
yeah, I don't no, I don't know. I can't really think of anything else we can
Okay.
discuss.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So yeah, that has been episode 1 of the Banter Buddies podcast. Do you want to remind everyone where they can find you, all your different platforms, things like that? Plug your work.
Like I said, still trying to get some of my work up. So might be a little difficult for now. But Rosie Posey YouTube should be up sooner or later.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Make sure you go follow her. She does some amazing work. I can tell you because I know her in real life too. So I can attest to this. Her work is genuinely fantastic. So go follow her, go give her some support. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.
Bye.